If you are a pet parent or planning on being a pet parent, please be responsible and have your pets spayed or neutered. Rick Skwiot, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Before we really jump into talking about your book, The Bootlegger's Bride, do you see that self-publishing has made it more of a challenge because there's so many people that are now able to push out a book?
The waters have gotten muddied a lot over recent years because of self-publishing and Amazon, the internet, and so forth. I think it was easier to find an agent or a publisher before you had this explosion of self-published books and everyone using a computer to set their book out all over the world. So it's much more difficult these days in that regard. But then again, but then again, you can reach everybody in the world too with your books if you do get them published. So
I guess that's true. It's almost like a double-edged sword, isn't it?
yeah. But we all have to deal with that and the changing technology and your business as well, which didn't exist not that long ago, the podcasting world.
Right. And now everything is a podcast. Anything spoken, it's a podcast. So a lot of challenges there as well.
Yeah.
But your current novel, we'll call it the seventh novel, again, The Bootlegger's Bride. Now, this one takes over, it spans across two different time periods. So I wanted to find out why it's written that way. You may have said someplace that it is a book about summer murder mystery that's filled with gritty family drama, historical fiction, and it's also a coming of age book because it deals with a young person.
AJ is a young man, and he's the son of a successful St. Louis bootlegger back in the day during Prohibition, and who marries a beautiful young school teacher, and they have this idyllic love affair. And but then the father is drafted and dies in the Normandy invasion of World War II, and his wife, Hazel, is shattered by that and eventually becomes an alcoholic, and she loses her life also under suspicious circumstances. So the boy, AJ, is left an orphan. So it's about his coming of age and how he deals with his anger and his abandonment and how he finds himself. And it does span a number of decades. It starts in Prohibition, goes through the Great Depression and up through World War II, and then you see his growth into the 1950s and ultimately 1960s when it ends in Vietnam. So there's 3 wars over this space that we have to deal with too. So that's why I'm moving across a great deal of time here to tell all my stories. It's a love story, it's a murder mystery, and it's also this coming of age tale. And it will appeal to readers of historical fiction and also to people who are looking for coming of age tales and really dramatic love stories as well.
Can I ask you something on that historical fiction? What is historical fiction? I mean, we've heard that before in writing, but nobody's explained it. Is it all fiction? Is it history made up? Can I get a little bit of a background on that?
Well, historical fiction generally, and particularly the case in my book, it's based on real events and real social settings and real places. And then you use fictionalized characters in many cases, although there are some real people in this novel too. When I go back and deal with some of the gangland violence in St. Louis, there are some people who were involved in that, like Jelly Roll Hogan, who was a gangster and had his Prohibition bootlegging operation. Others, so there are real people in this story as well. But what it does, it goes into the personal side of history. Most history books, not fiction, but nonfiction history books, are usually dealing with big events and the leaders of various movements or whatever's going on, whether it's a war or something else. But here we go inside and see it from the inside, in the hearts and minds of the people that are living through these times. So that's the advantage of anything in fiction, that you get to get in and feel the emotions that these people are feeling and suffering.
But you still had to do quite a bit of research, I would imagine, for this novel of yours.
Yeah, yeah, I did. I was first compelled to write this book because I heard all these stories from my parents and grandparents about that time, about Prohibition and how my family was sort of involved in as most people were in those days, in the periphery of bootlegging. And my grandfather was storing whiskey in his flat, his tenement in North St. Louis, and he was an immigrant. And his wife was also a Polish immigrant, and she was afraid that they were going to be arrested and deported. So she coerced him to getting rid of the whiskey by sleeping on the sofa until he got rid of it. And then uh, my father witnessed his neighbor gunned down in a gangland killing as he was talking to him sitting on the stoop. So those stories always also come to life within this novel. And so I can take those stories that no one knows about, no one's heard about, but I can bring them to life and put them in this historical setting.
Just listening to you give the story, the background part of uh, your family history, a story, it does sound very intriguing, this book. Would you say it's an easy read or difficult read? And what I mean by an easy read is sometimes I think people find it difficult when there are large words or um, made up places. But I'm going to guess that yours, like you said, it is a historical fiction novel. So you aren't making up different locations with strange words.
No, I don't use big words in my books. I try to keep it simple and write with a lot of compression and very concise. But this book is just challenging for a lot of people because there is a lot of movement back and forth in time. The story is not told chronologically, but I've structured the novel emotionally and thematically. So it's moving back and forth from Prohibition through the Great Depression and on even to the time of the Vietnam era when the book finally ends. So you have to pay attention reading it. And there's nothing hard about the language or anything, but to get the maximum surprise and revelation and emotion out of the book, I wanted to structure it that way. So you have what's called, in drama at least, uh, ironic symmetry in it. You have where the audience knows things that the characters don't. Dramatic irony is the right phrase, excuse me. So I've used that in this novel. So people who are reading the book know what's going to happen to these characters, even the characters don't know yet, since we are moving back and forth in time. And that adds to a richness and a sense of foreboding at times and a sense of sadness too, as well as some joyful moments.
I would imagine too that this adds a little bit of curiosity, knowing yourself what the character is kind of going to go through, but you want to find out the history or how. Forgive me for saying this because maybe you don't like the director or care for the directing style, but I want to try to relate it to movies. I know that there's a lot of people out there that listen to my show that enjoy movies, but Quentin Tarantino,
Yeah.
the going forward, going backwards, going forward, backward, in the middle. Uh, would you characterize your novel and this one similar to that as style?
Yeah, I think so. There is a lot of backwards and forwards on it. So we have a certain understanding of characters at certain points, and then later on we learn what's really behind their actions because we're going back in time to see what motivated them. And so what it does, it creates like a tapestry and a richness to it that you can't always get by just telling the story in a linear fashion. It creates a lot more tension and a lot more eagerness to turn the page and see how that occurred, how that happened.
Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you about your writing is because I've noticed with several of your other novels, they really take place in, well, Mexico, I think, is one that you've at least done two novels.
Right.
Uh, is there a reason that you use foreign locations and things like that in your writing?
Well, what it is I write about places I know, and I lived in Mexico, I lived in Key West, I lived and grew up in St. Louis and lived there. And so these are the places I know intimately and am want to revisit and take other people there. And every book of fiction that I write, I guess nonfiction as well, when I'm doing my memoirs, that characters, that the place and the environment, the culture is what determines character. You look at classic works like Hamlet or The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. There's two characters that are really determined by their environment. And so the setting determines the characters, and the characters then determine the plot. So everything I write comes from that, from the setting and from the feel of that and the way people live there and how the culture is. And from that, everything springs forward. So I write what I know about, which is Mexico, Florida, St. Louis, Midwest.
I guess that's true. What they've always said in the past is write about what you know. So write about what you're familiar with. Do, do you think that because of with the AI, people are now at their liberty to have artificial intelligence write their book or write whatever it is? So my question really is, how can it be any good if there's no experience from the writer and they put their name on it?
Yeah, well, to write serious fiction, which is what I'm trying to do, fiction that really moves people and has some substance to it, and some importance. You have to have an artistic vision to create that. And I'm not sure that how good AI is yet at creating human experience from nothing. I think it's very good at, from what I've seen of it, and I've just recently been alerted to some AI work. Uh, but it has to have something to work with, and that's where we come in as creators. We
I
have,
totally agree with you on that because I think you do have to experience or have some sort of emotion, and I don't think a machine has that emotion to write an emotional piece that will bring the readers in. Because again, you've already drawn me in a little bit more than what I started out with, knowing a little bit about your book, and I just want to remind people again, the Bootlegger's Bride, you have a website and people could go there and can they order the book?
I have on my website, it's rickskwiot.com. Uh, you have links there to all my books, and you can order them. This book, The Bootlegger's Bride, here's what it looks like. Whoops, it's backwards on the camera. But it's available wherever books are sold. So you can go to Amazon or Barnes and Noble or whatever and get the book. And it's both
Good.
available in paperback and in and an ebook as well, or Kindle.
You can hold it up once again and let everybody see. It'll actually be flipped. It'll be the right side when they're looking at it. So,
Okay. All right. There it
so
is.
I want to ask you because oftentimes people look at a cover first before anything else. That is a classic looking cover. Is it something that you selected? Is it something a piece that is from the family? So why did you use that cover?
Well, I had nothing to do with it actually, except the designer read the novel and got a feel for the novel, and then did this cover, which is sort of like an Art Deco thing that reflects that period that the book is set, and reflects the love story that's an important part of this book. But yeah, it's gotten a lot of good comments, and people like the cover because it's romantic, and also it's sort of mysterious as well, because it's sort of that sepia color that would see in old photographs. So, but yeah, I'm happy with it. Happy the way the book turned out.
Yeah, I was going to make the comment on there that it seems like it's a good cover for this for the book for the story.
Right.
And is there anything else that you could really tell us that'll entice the listeners to go and read this book? Because again, it's spans across several decades. It's about love. It's about a murder mystery. What else can you entice the listeners with to pick up the novel?
Well, from readers that I've talked to of the book, most of them say that no one leaves the book with a dry eye. It's a very emotional experience. And also, I took great care with the research of this book to get all the details right. It went into newspaper archives and other places, and so all the weather is right. Whatever's going on that day is real. All the fashions and the cost of things and all the geography and type and topography, it's all right as far as I can assert right now. But I took a lot of effort to try to really recreate that world during Prohibition. So we get to visit speakeasies and we get to see the bootleggers in action and get to feel that time. Same way in the Depression, the Great Depression, and those days. So it's time traveling, but it's also emotional time traveling to watch the events of this family saga and the love story and the coming of age story.
Wow. Um, I will be one that will be reading the book. I don't want to pull so much out of you that the listeners will go, "Oh, that's the entire book and story."
Well, it's yeah, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but a lot of it is you learn very early in the book what happens to some of the main characters, and then you see it happening later, so you're anticipating that. But it's uh, you have to experience it though. It's
Yeah.
not just plot; it's people's lives and emotions and feelings that you get.
My aha just now, the reason I made that expression is like I said, it's less of that plot, because in movies and whatever else, if there's a plot and we know it, it's like it's a spoiler. But like I said up front, you know what's going to happen or what's going on with the character, but then you read on to learn about the character, is how I'm understanding it.
Right.
And that's that emotional ride going along with the character. Is it almost in real time when this is happening? I know we're jumping around, but the emotional part?
Yes, yeah. I've got I tell the story from multiple points of view. There's the young boy AJ who's orphaned, uh, and there's also the bootlegger's bride herself and the bootlegger, and also other minor characters. We get it from their points of view. So we're getting to live within all these people and see what motivates them. Even though we know how the plot may be going or has gone already, we don't know why they did what they did until we go back and visit their motivations and what's compelling them to make these very tough decisions in their lives. There's a lot of high emotion here because there's life and death situations for everybody in this book. And in the end, AJ, the orphan, has to make a momentous decision as whether or not to avenge his mother's death. And so even though we learn in the first chapter that she dies prematurely, that we don't know until the last chapter what he's going to do about it.
Well, I think that's that perfect cliffhanger ending right there. Once again, folks, this is Rick Skwiot. I'll make sure that I have all the information in the show notes, so you'll be able to find Rick. You'll be able to find his seven books, seven novels that he's got currently, and who knows, more down the road.
Let's hope so.